David, I found it interesting that Jim Irsay was so public in his comments about Daniel Snyder. I am wondering your thoughts on that entire situation. Owner on owner crime right there.
That was a planned owner on owner crime.
Yeah.
And you should, I know that you guys don't have time, and I appreciate that, but all of yesterday's Nothing Personal was about this, and I'm going to give you two highlights that you should think about. What's going on right now is an absolute organized effort. Everybody is lawyering up on the owner's side and on the Daniel Snyder side. And what you're seeing is a steady stream of not just leaks, but of positioning for litigation that may come if they can't get Snyder to Sarver. Snyder to Sarver means that he just agrees to sell and he can be disappeared and we all move on and he collects every part of the value of the Commanders. The litigation comes if a vote actually gets taken and Irsay is correct and he didn't just come out. He's the perfect spokesperson. He's the one who you could say, my God, is he doing lines before he's saying that? Does Goodell even know? Is Goodell despondent that Irsay is talking? No, he's perfect. Snyder's threatening to blow out the secrets of all the owners, and Irsay says, hey, everybody knows my secrets, baby. Votes. And that's why Irsay was chosen by Goodell and by the other owners to be that sort of spokesperson. There's a whole meeting that takes place at owners' meetings about who's going to talk to the media, whether it's going to be a scrum, whether it's going to be a leak, whether it's going to be while walking through the lobby. It's totally strategic. So that is what happened. And I don't know that Snyder, I finally think we can say Snyder will not survive this.
On Nothing Personal, you covered very well the letter that Snyder wrote that was funny, wishing to whom it may concern, hoping that their family was well with the first sentence. The letter Snyder wrote, you made what of how stupid that letter was?
It was a 9.8 out of 10 in the unbelievably stupid category. So disingenuous. This is Dan Snyder. They've known him for decades. This is not someone who's trying to become an owner, who's trying to say, hey, what you may have read about me is not true, like a Mark Cuban where you have an idea of what he is in baseball from his time in basketball, but when he's trying to be an owner in baseball, he can come in and write a letter and say, listen, here's how it's going to work. Dan Snyder sending this letter, I was picturing all the owners opening it at the same time at the owners meeting and looking and saying, oh, yeah, you're interested in our family? And, oh, you never hired a private investigator to investigate me? Like, are you kidding? It's such a patently horrific attempt at Snyder. It's pathetic almost. It's like someone trying to hold on knowing that they can't win. And they're like, it's like it's Kevin Bacon in Animal House. Do you remember that reference, or is that a boomer reference?
God almighty, 1978 movie.
All is well.
You're going nice.
Our wheelhouse, man. Roy's always got it.
All is well. All is well. There's nothing to see here. The letter, we broke it down sentence by sentence on the show, and I just know that did get approved by his lawyers. But at the end of the day, Dan Snyder's a little like Jeffrey Loria, where the lawyers can say something, the PR people can say something, the marketing people can say something. But if you want to do it a different way, even if we know it's going to fail, at the end of the day, you're the owner, you're in charge. And that's what that letter looked like.
Is there like an owner WhatsApp group that they're all like hashing this stuff out in? No?
No.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you the perspective of new owners that have stepped into the NFL. The Walton Penner group that has taken over the Broncos, they have stepped into an NFL that is a tad messy on the ownership side right now. How do you think they're playing all of this? Because it seems as though there's an owner civil war brewing.
So when the entry fee to buy a team was lower, new owners were quieter for longer. New owners are now emboldened in these professional sports because their investments are so much larger. Walton invested $4.65 billion. He's not going to be quiet the way new owners should, because that's how it used to be. When you get into the game, oh, you bought your team for $100 million, you're going to sit in the back row. You're not going to speak until you're spoken to. You're not going to be on any committees. You're not going to be involved in anything. We'll send you a memo telling you what's happening. And you say, I'm going to wait my turn. It's sort of like a rookie coming in and sitting on the bench in the NBA, let's say, or going through rookie hazing in MLB. But when you spend $4.5 billion on a team, you walk in and you say, I'm going to be on the ownership committee to start. I'm going to be on the executive committee in 2 years. I'm going to have my people involved in the finance committee and the compensation committee. And if there's stuff going on that's going to impact the value of my asset, I'm going to know about it immediately. Because remember, when you bought your team like Jerry Jones for $400 million and it's worth $4 billion, that's very different if there's a problem that could impact your asset value that would bring it to 3.8. But if your basis is 4.6 and it goes down immediately, you've got a serious, significant problem. So it's changed over time.
In baseball, David, where are the ownership groups that are most aligned, most consistently, friendly as a pack? And which are the ownership groups that are most divided, hate each other the most?
Well, the old white guys are all together, right? So they sort of have they've got a club of
who does that leave left?
So they're all aligned. They're all totally aligned.
I love where your head's at.
29, 30.
That's all of them.
I think.
Why do you think the votes are 30-0 all the time?
Aligned.
I guess that leaves Benson.
They're trying to build a wall between themselves and Artie Moreno.
It happens to just be a coincidence, and I guess we can say the quiet part out loud. Artie Moreno is not popular, having nothing to do with the fact that he's Hispanic. It really doesn't. Owners, at the end of the day, there are definitely some octogenarians who have antiquated views of race and of society. That is true. But that is not why Artie Moreno is not popular. He's not popular because he's just not a good guy.
David, I was curious for your thoughts because you always talk about whenever you wanted to do things in baseball, you had to get 23 votes. 23 votes was the magic number. I believe the magic number in the NFL is 24 or 25. And Jim Irsay came out and said that he believes that there are 21 owners that are ready to vote out Daniel Snyder. What do you make of the fact that he came out publicly and said that? Is he almost trying to recruit voters number 22, 23, 24, and 25 to his cause?
So you need 24, and I did not read that, Whitty. I thought he said that he believes he has the votes. I didn't see him put an actual number to it.
Yeah, he said I'm reading a quote. Jim Irsay says he potentially believes 21 owners will agree to remove Dan Snyder, but must wait for investigation to conclude.
So the way you do this is the commissioner has people, and the commissioner doesn't do this. He has his deputies do it, sort of one or two levels below, and they each get assigned a group of teams. And what you're doing is you're polling the owners to see where they are on a certain issue, and then you're keeping a tally as to where you are. It is very unlikely that the tally rests at 21 and that Irsay, I'm surprised he would have said that, and that's not a way to get owners on the other side, right? You don't say, oh, we're 3 away publicly and then pressure an owner into changing his vote. You have to do your homework before then, and you will never bring Snyder to a vote of ousting until you've got the full 24. And if you're a no, you're not a yes because you read that you're only 3 away. It's not like a secret ballot. All of the owners are told where the other owners are in votes in this situation because you cannot have any surprises. When Jeff Morad was going to buy a team, he was going to buy the San Diego Padres, and he came in and he demanded an ownership vote, even though he knew he didn't have the votes to be approved. And he sat there. He was trying to become the first agent to be an owner of a team. And Jerry Reinsdorf led the push to make sure there were at least 8 no votes. And he got his 8 no votes. And Morad knew it, but still demanded the vote just so he could say, hey, I tried and it didn't work out. There is no vote that happens at the ownership level that is not predetermined.
And the other thing I wanted to follow up on was last week you said dollars to donuts, that Amazon's Thursday Night Football broadcast will not bring this up. And Al Michaels not only brought it up, but basically ordered the code red in some respects and basically saying, I think he should sell the team. I think the other owners just want him to sell the team. What did you make of that?
That's not a code red.
Not?
Come on. That is vanilla. That may be worth donuts, and I was trying to find a way to Uber Eats them to you guys, and I didn't know if you like jelly or crullers or glazed, but I do owe you donuts because Al Michaels did mention it. It also came up in the pregame, and I was very surprised about that. But he certainly did not do it in a way that would have upset anybody on the ownership side. It didn't cause any sort of ruckus. People sort of thought this is a man with gravitas who found a way to handle a situation with some poise. So I didn't find it in any way like he had his pants on fire.
David,
do you still win the bet?
Do you have examples of Moreno not being a good guy? We breezed past that. We should have.
I'm
Yes.
glad you brought it
Thank
back,
you.
not only because it deserves and merits follow-up, but also because we skipped past this part. Yeah, there are a bunch of guys who are kind of racists and terrible and homophobes, but Artie Moreno's a really bad guy.
I didn't use those words. You
Right.
did.
Yeah, well.
All I said is they're octogenarian and white.
You said they were antiquated in their viewpoints, brought to us from the 1800s.
Now, you can definitely cross the bridge from what that means, but I feel like that's the type of thing you don't need to say. If you say they have antiquated views, not all of them, but many of them, can't you just leave it at that, Dan?
I suppose, but I'm just making the joke that you said Artie Moreno's the bad guy after saying the others had the antiquated views about people like Artie Moreno.
Okay.